19 COVID Stories. The End of the Affair, March 2021. Everything has changed. Living together used to be such fun. Each morning she would leave early for work. I never once overslept and always saw her off. Okay, we missed each other during the day, but come the late afternoon, her key turning the lock in the front door of the flat was the happiest sound in the world. I never waited for her to come to me. Instead, I rushed into the hall and there she would be. It was so intense. Usually we'd go straight out again, sometimes meeting up with the gang and fooling around on the heath, before wandering back home, just the two of us. Then there was dinner, curled up together on the sofa in front of a movie. Do you know what love is? Love is not having to say anything. Weekends were even better. We'd both sleep in, have something to eat, and then go out for our weekly jog. She was a beautiful jogger. Really stunning. People used to turn and watch her, and I felt so proud trotting along next to her. Every time we arrived at the last bend of the canal, we'd exchange a look, just a twinkle in the eye, and we both knew what the other was thinking. I'll race you! I always let her win. It all sounds very ordinary, doesn't it? A daily routine endlessly repeated. Not to us. We didn't need the world intruding with its offer of limitless possibilities. Just each other. It wasn't that she herself changed. Well, not at first, anyway. Our agenda changed. It may sound banal, superficial even, but it was the basic alteration in our daily routine that I've just described that had such a catastrophic effect. The simple fact is, she started working from home. Sitting at her desktop computer, shouting at people on the screen, sometimes bursting into tears, she became a completely different person. Well, there was no more watching films together either. Instead, she spent hours on conference calls and social media. It was suddenly all very solitary. You can't cuddle up to someone when they're sitting in their computer chair in front of the desktop. And don't get me started on her mobile. In the old days, she would finish her last call of the day as she pushed her way through the front door. Then the mobile phone went straight into her bag. She had always been very strict about that. Now she was on it constantly. She developed one habit that I found particularly aggravating. Whilst on her mobile, looking at me sternly, and then raising her index finger as a warning not to be interrupted. I tried to be understanding, and obviously there was a shitstorm breaking out at her work, but overnight she'd become obsessive. She refused to leave the apartment. Some days we didn't even go out at all. We were driving each other up the wall. I tried to encourage her to go out, get some fresh air, but that just made her more irritable, and soon we were having the most terrible scenes. The weekends were no better. No jogging, just long, lonely, sad walks, and her on that bloody mobile all the time. We stopped meeting up with the gang, and she actually avoided them. On one occasion, as they were coming into sight, she purposely steered us away from them, actually jostled me away from them. All I could do was drop my head in complete embarrassment and pretend I didn't see them. It was pathetic and humiliating, and proved a turning point. Yes, I have to admit that I too started to become unreasonable. I simply lost my patience, stopped indulging her. I began to get difficult on purpose, do little things to annoy her. And worst of all, I enjoyed her irritation. How I regret that petty self-indulgence now. She became ill. It started with the usual flu symptoms until one morning she couldn't get out of bed, each attempt leaving her slumped on the edge of the mattress, heaving for breath. I felt so useless. Not being able to help someone you love is something I never want to experience again. It was my lowest moment. She received treatment at home, and as the days went by, her condition improved. I hoped that during her recovery we might reclaim our previous intimacy. But no. Brian came into our lives. Brian the carer. I thought he looked bloody stupid in all that plastic sheeting and the visor, like a lost astronaut looking for his rocket. During each of his daily visits, they would chat together, him taking her temperature, talking about being on the front line, pretending to be a doctor, which he wasn't. Behind the closed door, I could hear them. It was all just superficial chit-chat, nothing real like we had shared. But it hurt. I know it sounds selfish, but try and understand, my whole life has been devoted to making her happy. Without that, I no longer have any meaning. And so, we have reached the end of the road. An unimaginable end of the road. She has made her choice, and her choice is Brian. And Brian doesn't like dogs, especially Yorkshire Terriers.